that's coming across as patience, because process has to take place in order for the lesson to process.
I'd agree. I wouldn't say I have patience necessarily. I have emotional control.
But
So,
emotional control can also be mistaken as a sense of patience. Just like mine
yeah.
is experience, yours is emotional control. I got good EQ, but you know, but the goal now is I was able to give you some insight into some things about what you was doing from
Hmm.
experience. In the same,
I would have never called that moon magic.
yeah. You can, as a matter of fact, you can Google that. Tarot cards is moon magic. It's that commonplace or common knowledge. Um,
I was just using
so,
them.
huh?
I was just using them. I didn't even really do a lot of research.
Mhm.
I literally would say I could do this with I could see how after using tarot that you could do tea leaf readings or chicken bones or whatever. That's kind of how I used them. It was just a tool. I didn't do a lot of research on them other than the card meanings. That was
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, but that's
Wow.
yeah. But hey, you put yourself in a position to learn a great deal. Make sure you milk it for everything it's worth. And take that to the bank because you can be well paid. You already
And I'm
did the
assuming
work.
you don't mean money wise. Huh?
And said you already did the work. Now you gotta go. Only way that you can get paid out on the experience is when the losses become the lessons, and then all of the L's flip to sevens for jackpots. You the only one can milk that. It's the only you got your own bank.
I see. I'm not following you on that one.
It's energy. By going back over everything you learned, the more things that you suddenly realize that you've learned,
Oh, I
that's the
see what you're saying.
flipping the L into the seven.
Yeah, sometimes I have blind spots on
Right.
just like that where you were talking about that was a training ground. I had no idea. I literally was just trying to help people. That was my only goal. I didn't even take money for readings or anything.
Mhm.
I never made one dime off of a reading.
Yeah, because
But
it
I was
was
starting to
only
feel like
training.
a counselor.
It was
Huh?
only training. Look, Michael Jordan, if he didn't never practice, he would have never been Michael Jordan. If
Sorry.
Kobe, if look, if Kobe Bryant did never go
Up
to
there between
practice,
Michael Jordan and my readings. I was like,
yeah,
what?
you can't be good at something without practicing it because you got to know how to do
True.
it.
But like I said,
You're
I was a
not
good
born
tarot
knowing
reader,
how to
but
do nothing.
I wasn't a good tarot. Huh?
You're not born automatically knowing how to do nothing. You got to learn everything.
Well, yeah.
That's why everything is stretched out in the bracket of time. Because now, if you break the time into segments, you can break your life into 7 year increments. Some people would be 5 years, some people would be 6 years. But you'll notice that these increments have a common denominator. You know, you go through a process of learning for a period of time, then you run into where everything that you learn is being tested by life. When you reflect back on your life and you begin to see that, you begin to graduate from each one of those degrees up to now. And now
Like a
you
level up.
got, yeah, so now you got more tools in your resources of survival of the three-dimensional fixed mind matrix. Now you have more tools to open more doors, or as they say, more keys.
More training
Yeah.
grounds.
And the more you know, the further you go. They say leaders are readers. The only thing a reader does is look at something from another person's perspective. And the more people perspective, the more you master the perspective of the 360-degree cycles of the hologram. You see from every single position, or at least 360, that's going to open up your perception to see 720 as above, so below. 360 on the ground, 360 in the sky. Just like when you read the tarot cards and then somebody else come along and read the astrology and you tell one person the same thing, they at the center of the hourglass.
Is there a reason why I would be very poor in grasping astrology? I've even looked at like the houses and all that kind of stuff. It's one of the few topics that doesn't stick in my brain. Like I can't recall it and go do like I do other things.
It's because you're not really interested.
Oh,
Anything you're truly interested in, the interest is what makes you pay attention. That's why we be all fucking up in school. Nobody care about that bullshit they writing on chalkboard.
I
Seriously,
wasn't
that's
like
me with
this.
the kids. I mean, seriously. It's the same with life when you become an adult and you try to do something that you're not really interested in,
Yeah,
you half-ass it. After a while, you be like, this shit ain't for me. Because I can't
yeah.
put my all into it, so I can't get nothing out of it. Yeah.
And I always felt like astrology was more of a bigger picture and longer term than a tarot reading. A tarot reading was, you know, I don't know. It just seemed like it was more action based. The only thing I
Yeah. The, di-
describe it.
yeah, the difference is you're looking at it from an overhead view versus looking at it from a street view.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
And I like the street view better than the overview.
That's the moon magic. Because the moon magic is directly tied to the earth frequency. In order to harness the women's energy with this menstrual cycle bullshit. It's all tied together. It's part of a slave system of holographic projections to control people and keep them from remembering that they was already here.
Is it possible for that to go away at some point, that moon?
You gotta the moon. That motherfucker might drive off any day. It don't need to be there.
Okay. All right.
Just
Yeah, because
just
I
remember
have a
this:
feeling it
the
won't be.
lens of the projector. You can watch the movie in it too. Now,
Say that again?
you can watch the movie from the lens of the projector. What I mean by that, right?
Is that an actual movie? Because I don't watch movies.
Mm-mm. Back in the day, they used to have what's called movie theaters. In the movie theater, is playing a movie on the screen, but it's a projector behind everybody projecting the movie to the screen.
Oh yeah, I'm old enough for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
now if you look back at the projector, you can see the movie playing in the lens.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Now, for some strange reason, Earth is in the moon.
The
Yeah,
reflection, the continents and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I thought the moon was reflecting the sun.
It doesn't seem to be reflecting anything.
Well, why can you see the layout of Earth on the moon?
Isn't the Have you ever seen them take that holograph thing where they put it down here and then you see it up here?
Yeah, but it's not a hologram because it's been there for thousands of years. People that draw the moon been drawing the reflection of the Earth on the moon ever since they've been drawing the moon. The moon haven't always been there.
So the moon is reflecting the Earth, is what you're saying, or is the Earth reflecting the moon?
The moon is projected to the hologram that keeps you locked in the mind trap.
Oh, I see. So it's coming down like this.
Right. But
Oh, you
now, in
can see
order for that to be true, you need what's called a north-south projection
pull it.
mechanism that goes around the Earth. It would have to go in order for the hologram to be projected. In
Isn't
order
that when you
for
were talking about they're supposed to be able to touch but they don't or something?
yeah,
You were talking about that on something else.
yeah, that was the Dark Knight satellite. That's the second
That thing
lens
creeps
of
me
the
out. I haven't
projector.
even watched the documentary on it.
Yeah. So somebody got a computer using artificial intelligence using the moon and the dark night satellite to hijack the minds of the people. It's been turned off. When they wake up, they be in what's called the fifth dimension, which is the spiritual self being able to see through all of the bullshit in the 3D world instantly. And you'll be
Wouldn't
able
that
to
jack with
adjust
time?
accordingly. Huh?
If that's turned off, wouldn't that jack with time?
Kind of. We used to live in what was called the Septepi, the forever time. Now we don't live in the forever time. We live in what's called the time of mortality, or the great Kali Yuga, the sleep age of the gods. When the
So the
guys wake,
Mahorse,
yeah, so the guys wake up and realize they was just asleep.
so okay, so but isn't there a theory? Because I didn't watch the documentary on the Black Knight satellite, but I caught a few things. Isn't there a theory that the Aninaku or the Anunnaki or whatever they call the new keep tabs on this planet with that satellite?
Yeah, that's called the Eye of Enki. I mean, the Eye of Enlil. The Eye of
Okay.
Enki, the Eye of Enki is on the ground. It's called the Yoni of the Earth. It's in South Africa on
The
Zululand. The Eye of Enki. The Eye of Enlil is in the sky, what we call today a satellite. They didn't call them satellites back then because they didn't speak modern English. So they
is
called,
that parallel to the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Tahuti?
it's the Ujet and the Uraeus, the Eye of Osiris and the Eye of Isis, because Osiris gave Isis one of his eyes. He actually gave it to, I think it was Hathor, because Hathor is the first heir to the Isis seat. And then she gave it to her son, which was Heru.
Okay.
Then it became known as the Eye of Horus. But
I
both
see.
of them was the two eyes of Osiris, I mean of Ra at one time. Then
Or Ray.
it's a potato,
Oh, okay.
tomato. And the two eyes, it symbolizes as two different perspectives of view. It's the knowledge and the wisdom. So they come out master of the earth realm, the 3D, the lower realm, the lower nature, the vulture,
Right.
on one side of your crown. The higher nature, the noble character, the way of the wise, comes out as the cobra, the hood.
Yeah,
Cobra.
but that's the on this plane. That's well, people call it mythology, but it would be like a spirituality, I guess, or an explanation of a process. But is there some parallel to the two other eyes that you were talking about?
They are from two different cultural perspectives.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I thought Enlil was a. Well, I guess that would still make sense too.
The word Enlil means Lord of the sky. En means Lord. Enki means Lord of the earth.
Oh, okay.
And the eye of Enlil, the Dark Knight satellite, because Enlil was the leader of the air fleet in the Anunnaki tale. So it became known as the Eye of Enlil, but it was just a satellite. They just didn't use the word satellite because that's a modern word. But when we
There's no
translated
feminine
the ancient
aspect here.
tongue, they described the satellite and then they give it a name and call it the Eye of Enlil. And on the earth, because Enki is the earth key, it is the what they call the primate key, which is the father key, right? And you need a master's grip to hold the key. You need a special frequency to release the sword from the stone in order order to pull the cross out the ground. In order to break the sacrifice and free the people, you pull your weapon, King Arthur's sword, right? It's metaphors, it's mythology, my theology. It's the mysteries of the ancients woven to the tales of mystery and mysticism as mythology in order to separate it from their story near theology and theocracies ran as republics and democracies to deceive the people. You have to have the mysteries and the mythologies to unravel all of the theological bullshit. And that's why it continues through history with the same ancient stories and why we keep telling them if we don't need them. Because anything that outwears its use in the realm of the human is no longer used. Our 50-foot self is no longer of value because of the shifting of the earth. We'd be too big, too slow, too sluggish, we would die out. We upgrade, so we downsized. We went from 13 strands of a whole bunch of bulky 57 Chevy to the 2-strand streamliner Lamborghini Diablo. Genetically, in order to facilitate the transfer. All of Earth history is still on the Earth in stratas and layers and carryovers from bygone ages. We don't need the artifacts. We need to read the artifacts in order to know what already worked and what already didn't work. All we're trying to do is improve on the root base of humanity in order for the knowledge to increase the productivity of humans, and then they'll begin to produce heaven on earth and bypass the wickedness of digging in the ground and burying people. There's a difference.
Yeah, but I would say that way of thinking, like what you just said, that would probably not be the way that a majority of the consciousness on the planet is thinking.
I know. Just like you gave the perfect description of being a Magdala priestess, but you don't know nothing about Magdala priestess. How can you give the exact description and never know what it is?
Because I'm already that.
You already that. You don't have to become. And as a Magdala priestess, your ability to manipulate reality is way more advanced than regular people by birthright. You inherited that because it's in your bloodline, or you wouldn't have knew it. You wouldn't have no interest in it. You got to remember who you is and accept who you is because you're powerful as hell. You contributing to the progression in the evolution of the golden age. It's millions of y'all on the planet right now, and it's normally only a couple of 100,000. Y'all came for great change. So you have to dig into the self in order to see your ability to facilitate great change. And then rest in that energy and let it take its course. Don't fight it.
If what you just said is true, then that's probably a problem for some people.
Why would you give
I'm
it
not
to
sure
them?
I agree with that, but because
If
you're way more generous than I am, I'll tell you that.
if somebody else have a problem with you living your purpose, fuck them.
Oh no, I'm not worried about him. I'm just saying, like, if there's a lot of us and we're on this train of thought, some of these people ain't gonna make it, man.
I done already been telling them. When y'all turn on and y'all all sync, a whole bunch of motherfuckers ain't gonna make it. Because that's when the solar flare gonna flash the earth, and then the earth is gonna flash the people with a Schumann resonance,
Yeah,
and a whole bunch of people, mitochondria is gonna be turned to the off position.
I've seen that. I mean, I've seen that.
I've been telling them for
Not
years.
kidding.
I didn't just
You
make this up.
you know that movie, I don't know, I don't remember the name of the movie. I just saw like a small clip of it, and then I went to the movie database and looked up to see what it was and got the synopsis. It was a Bruce Willis movie where a bunch of people just fell out on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched the movie, but when I saw it, I instantly went, "Oh shit, that's gonna happen," because I'd already seen it.
Yeah, that's the time. That's what's called the great shift, the timeline shift. The timeline under the old system was geared for the destruction of all of Earth and all of humanity. The timeline of the Aquarian age is shifted to the golden age and great abundance for the people on Earth. So when the timeline shift, some people didn't get it immediately and got snatched back later. This all plays out symbolically as people being snatched through the timelines because some people got it later than others and they made it out just before the great destruction. And this is why they was preaching all of the gloom and doom and the nuclear holocaust and all that bullshit to trigger the people to shift the timeline so that they can bring in y'all mandala priests to come in and shift us to a higher frequency. And y'all tied in to the daughters of Isis and the Delphi priestess, y'all all begin to sync. And a whole bunch of women is going to start having menstrual cycles every 28 days on the same day. They're going to run out of tampons. And that's because y'all starting to sync up. It's going to be the same time, and it ain't going to take but like 3 months of that, and then woof, so all of the bullshit gone. And I'm gonna be dancing the jig in the streets during the middle of the Mardi Gras because it ain't too far off.
This may be a TMI, so I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but well, sorry, but kind of not. But would this explain why in my 50s I'm still having a menstrual period?
Yeah, because some